YouTube. It's Tone back with another one for you. And this one here is dealing with presentments. This is video number 3. And I think this is a pretty good book. So let's get right into this shit here. See what we got. So here it says, be careful to never reach a point where you think that you know enough or you have it all figured out. As soon as you think you have, you've had it. And it's true because these people can literally change the protocols from which they operate at any given point because they're operating a private business, and so they can change the policies as they want. So don't ever feel like you got it all figured out and they're never gonna switch it up on you, because they will. That's what they do. Number 7, understand as much of the law and the practice thereof as possible in terms of universal principles that transcend and are more fundamental than the system's concoctions. Man's law is a subset and derivatives from principles that are more fundamental than and endure beyond all human imaginings. The further removed the universal principles we are, the more unstable and unreliable our position is. The observation of Emerson is below. So, as to methods, there may be a million and then some, but the principles are few. Right, and so that's what I was telling you. So ultimately, fundamentally, what you want to understand is that there's only 3 different, jurisdictions for them to get under, right? So you got admiralty, maritime, and then you got common law there. So which one is it, right? And so you want to get to the bottom of that. You want to get to the cause of nature, and you already know fundamentally all of this shit is commercial in nature because they are corporations, right? So those are the principles to stick by, and have your positioned around principles like this, because then you're going to be able to win. So the man who grasps principles can successfully select his own methods. The man who tries methods ignoring principles is sure to have trouble. Number 8, change your thinking. If the thinking perceiving ruts in which you have confined, and alter, revise, expand them, cast your nets on the other side of the boat. If you're not catching any fish on the side where you have been fishing. So number 9, never assume. Don't take anything that they say or do at face value. Dig for the facts and substantiation in law for what it is that you do. In the words of Gilbert and Sullivan, that things aren't always what they seem. Skim milk masquerades as cream. Number 10, create a paper trail and public record concerning as many aspects of your position as possible. This includes executing documents that articulate and declare your rights, identity, and standing, thereby shifting the burden of proof onto those who would deprive you of them. Establish and notice the proper parties of your position, sending color copies of your documents, preferably dispatched by a notary with a notarial certificate of service. 11, whenever you are out and about, carry correctly colored pens with you, as well as postage stamps, rubber stamps, text of various things to stay in emergency context, and notarized color copies of crucial rights asserting documents. Be prepared. So, and that's a big thing right there too, because they caught me at the post office the other day. I forgot to bring my red pen with me because it's right down the street. I didn't think nothing of it, but I had forgot to write in like the PO box or something like that with the red pen, like I use on the front of all my mailings. And he's like, "Oh, you got the red pen on you?" And I'm like, "Fuck, I didn't have it." So I had to do that part in blue, which is whatever anyway. But definitely always want to keep your different color pens on you and shit like that for different situations. So 12, collect dictionaries, perhaps all you can, both regular and law dictionaries. Words are the weapons of this game. By understanding the meaning and legal significance of words, you not only have revealed and the significance of word, you not only have revealed to you what your strategy and tactics can be to win when writing your documents. All legal documents are paper soldiers for fighting and win-lose battles in a legal setting, but communicate in their language. The official dictionary of the U.S. is Bouvier's. They won't tell you this, and so many options available to you reveal that in the law dictionary. Also get the Oxford Unabridged Dictionary, available for diamond print with magnifying glass, for the extensive etymology of words, which is the origin and etymology. So understand as much of the nature of the system as possible so you can use it to your advantage. This should include spending time in court, observing diverse proceedings, paying attention to the interactions between attorneys and judges so you can perceive more clearly how the system functions to battle the people. 14. Capitalize on the mentality of bureaucrats and what they understand. Feel comfortable with an offer you in a way of procedural options. If you can relate them in this manner, you do not act outside of the bounds of their job description and do not put them in the wrong. At the same time, you secure their cooperation and let them do. Where's that pen at? So here, let them do what they are familiar with, such as sending you documents or clarification to which you are statutorily entitled, which they often tell you in their correspondence, such as under this or that the act you are entitled to do so. Don't confront them with anything hostile or outside of their out of their niche and mentality, and certainly don't require them to think. So 15, since bureaucrats, reality is what exists on their computers, don't fill out any more forms than you have to, and don't answer any return questionnaires. Your answers get cross-referenced in innumerable computers that can be used to assemble a profile on you and everything about you. You are often sold to marketing agencies so that you are flooded with unwanted offers and fed into the system's database as more food for the beast to consume and used against you. What is advisable to do is to live your life as privately and off the radar as possible and put out information you want bureaucrats to believe and hence act on, and the truth about you and your activities, including information on your computers that leads them on rabbit trails away from you and your freedom. So 16, play different agencies and aspects of the system against each other, and that's what I do. So these people try to get crazy. I grab the IRS and then just smash them on the head with that, because all these people are just private agencies, and I'm pretty sure they're not paying their taxes, and I'm pretty sure they haven't been audited in quite a while. So maybe since they feel like engaging in taxable activities with yours truly, I'm gonna go ahead and get the IRS to come and smash on you a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And so these are things that you can do. So you play one against the other, and it's real simple. This is what they do to us. So you do it to them, and you stand back and watch the fire burn. You know what I'm saying? That shit's hilarious, to be honest with you. So the system is not homogenous, meaning that it's not all blended together. Most agencies and departments are very territorial, desiring to have as much exclusivity of power as possible to themselves without having to share power with other aspects of the system, so as to compromise their ability to function as autonomous as possible. So what they're saying is that all these agencies are departments of. Departments mean it's departed from, mean it's separate from, apart from, not a part of. So all these departments are all really separate agencies, even though they're inside the same building. That's why they don't talk to one another, because they're literally different businesses inside of that one building, all in different office spectacles, or whatever you call them, shits, squares or whatever. So accept in return for value all the presentments when you can. Use autographed postage stamps on your documents and have them sent to your destination by notary. Every time you ever mail anything, including having a notary mail things on your behalf, put postage stamps on the envelope. Do not mail by use of the red meter postage. Whenever you take an item into the post office that needs postage and ask the seller to put the postage on, they then run the meter through their stamp. Do not allow this. You need the canceled stamp for the clout it has as a binding obligation of the U.S. government, and not the red ink meter, the use of which means the item is not canceled and mail fraud is involved. So you don't want to be part of that mail fraud. I personally don't do this shit, but what I do, everything I send with the form 3665 form, and that essentially is saying that they did receive it, and then you get the post office stamp on it, and it also puts you into, and I do use the $1 stamps as well. That's going to put you right into the Universal Postal Union and the rules therein, right, under the military jurisdiction. So the 19, in addition to use of notary, such things as embassy seals can work wonders. Perception and reality. Many bureaucrats and officials, upon seeing embassy seals, apostilles, etc., back off immediately because they think that they might be tampering with matters above their knowledge and jurisdiction, and thereby risking some kind of problem for themselves. Number 20, place all documents you execute, as well as all paperwork from adverse parties in the system that you receive and accept for return for value and or file in court directly under the Universal Postal Union. UPU by the proper use of postage stamps. This matter is discussed below for the postal power. And you guys are gonna like all this shit too. You're gonna start to see why it is that I use the $1 stamps and all that shit on the shit that I do. Okay, so you can see what it is. It isn't for nothing. Everything means something. So 21. So whenever you have a serious subpoena to serve, such as on the mayor of a municipality or some high government official, have them served by sheriff, or better yet, the provost marshal. And you can do the U.S. marshals too. I think it's like $1.50 to have them serve somebody, but I mean it's worth it. When, you know, to see the look on their face when they get served by a U.S. marshal, I think is probably going to be priceless. So call the U.S. marshal's office and see what is involved in having it done. So if you are in prison, and I mean you have to do this shit. If you're serving judges and the sheriff's department and shit like that, you have to go to the U.S. Marshals. So if you are in person, either ask or have someone on the outside ask on your behalf from the prison form for reporting irregularities. A prison is a federal project. Inmates can report irregularities in calling state, county, state, and federal auditors. This form is used for reporting irregularities in accounting of federal projects to the Army Corps of Engineers under the because I mean this is who's running everything right here is the Army Corps of Engineers. So under the military accounting, ER 37210, almost all prisons keep false books. When they are audited upon the first irregularity, which usually does not take long for the auditors to find, things hit the fan. One might ask the prison administrator for the form or the prison case officer. And I did that shit too. I mean, I had the Department of Health running around in this one jail in Mass. I mean, a couple times actually, because they were always doing everybody super grimy. When I went in there, you know, there was a lot of violations. So Department of Health came down with like 20 what do you call it? People in the white lab coats and all that shit with the clipboards, had these people petrified. And it's funny because everybody thinks they can just do whatever they want, like they have nobody to answer to. But trust me, they're all private businesses and they have somebody to answer to, and they can lose their fucking license to operate. Absolutely they can. Okay? So 23. And see how cute that is when all these people are signing up for fucking unemployment and shit, right? So 23, ask for your SID number, which is your state identification number, on the file from every state in which you have ever been in at any period of time. While the social security number is federal, the SID number is state. Through this tracking number, the state keeps track of everything about you, i.e. your strawman, such as licenses, liens, arrests, etc. SID numbers are either 7 digits followed by a letter suffix or 8 digits without the letter. All, however, are preceded by the 2-character U.S. Postal identification of the state. So it'd be like MA for Mass or something like that. So one probably must make a Freedom of Information Act, FOIA request to the state equivalent. In California, for instance, one might use the Information Practices Act. So that would be the state equivalent of the Freedom of Information Act, which would be codified in your state codes and statutes. So 21, send off a FOIA to the FBI for your FBI rap sheet, which not only contains the record of every arrest or detention, alienation, to which a strawman has ever been subjected, but allegedly can be used to legally provide conclusive and indisputable proof that the strawman is separate and a distinct legal entity in the nature of a corporation and created by the state. It references an organizational ID, just like the corporate policies just like the corporate police agencies have. This is a prima facie evidence for diversity of citizenship. And so prima facie means that it's sufficient to establish as fact. So in addition, the FBI rap sheet is invaluable in where you are trying to clear your record or restore your rights to attack an agency legally. In addition to obtaining it by making a FOIA request for the FBI, if you are a guest of the Bureau of Prisons, meaning like an inmate, you can get it by written request to your case manager, since it is all in your file. BOP, guests take note. So inmates take note. The FBI rap sheet does not contain info on the disposition of cases, so it does not come under the recent SNIS protection ban on paperwork. That means they cannot refuse to give it to you. So 25, emulate success. As people who fundamentally simply wish to live in peace and be left alone, interact and engage in using approaches that are their best research and judgment indicates might succeed. Their experience and the understanding that often ensue are not only invaluable but add to the knowledge and tools available to the rest of us. Therefore, networking is invaluable. And it's true, because everybody focuses on different aspects of things, and maybe they'll notice something in the book that you didn't. That's why it's good to get together and highlight different aspects of any code or statute that you see that might help everybody, because it saves everybody a hell of a lot of time. So this shit has been priceless, and I think the whole internet and these groups have led to exponential growth in this whole movement in general, if you will, or information, if you will. So 2026. So those of us involved in this quest for truth, freedom, and peace would be well advised to abandon the petty bickering, fault finding, and snap out of their stupor. There is no room left for indulging in such counterproductive luxuries. The good ship U.S. long ago hit the iceberg. It is not the time to be arguing about who gets space for what on a deck chair, or who could play the next round of shuffleboard. And that's what I always say too, is to definitely pick your battles, man. Just because you know that they're fucking wrong doesn't mean that it might not just be easier to just pay the $15 ticket instead of spending fucking 3 months in court fighting with these dumbasses. You know what I'm saying? So you definitely got to pick your battles. You know what I mean? That's going to be crucial. So let's see what we got here. Consequently, if our dealings with the legal system have not been successful in accordance with our priorities, it may be in large measure because we have not thought adequately about, and therefore not acted properly concerning, that which we are interacting. We must reevaluate our thinking and change it, and therefore the way we act accordingly. In the words of a fellow named Dale Mahoney, if you continue to work as you always thought, then you'll continue to get what you always got. So, but if you continue to think what you always thought, then you'll always get what you always got. And so, I mean, that's simple enough. So, is it enough? On its face, a presentment is a demand, either to pay something, engage in specific performance, such as coming to court, answering a summons and complaint, or both. It is important to understand that all presentments issued by within the colorable legal commercial systems today are expressions of the wizard's light show. That show appearing dazzling and is often terrifying, but is in actuality it's insubstantial chimera, and becomes concrete only when we treat it in a manner that, by the rules of the game, authorizes it to be enforced against us in physical reality. So in order for that, so what he means by that is, like, if they send you a letter, which is a presentment and offer, if you accept the letter into your house, then you have an obligation to entertain it at that point, right? So, and then give it back, accept it, reject it, or whatever it may be. But you can refuse the letter altogether in general by sending it back, return to sender, addressee not recognized, or doesn't live here, or something like that too as well. So someone provides you with a presentment because he expects to make money off you by doing so. The point of this discourse is to elucidate how we can act concerning what has heretofore been damaging to us because of our ignorance, and proceed in a manner that can turn the tables to enable us to use the same system and its rules for our betterment. To begin with, we must realize that adopting the ostrich approach to hiding our head in the sand does not eliminate what we might wish to not have to deal with. Emulating the ostrich merely exposes our rear end blindly. It does not stop our butt from being kicked, or worse. Shit. So the second thing to realize is that everything that happens to us is the result of our own creating, either by having caused it expressly or because we placed ourselves in the context where the event we have to deal with, which is allowed to be in our space. In either case, we have control over it, and it is our free will choice as to how to deal with a particular event. In the case of receiving a presentment, we can basically pursue one of the following courses of action. We can comply with the demand stated on the face of the presentment. Number 2, we can deny, fight, try to run from it, etc. Number 3, we can accept it and thereby neutralize it and offset it by allowing the current to flow in a way that discharges the obligation without trying to block or resist the force directed against us. Acting in accordance with either of the first two ways results in automatic loss. The first way consists of a meat compliance, which is a dead loss to us. We simply just pay or perform as we have been instructed to do so, like good little slaves. The second way constitutes a dishonor in joining the issue offered to our straw man that can then be enforced by the courts and upon us. We give substance and credibility to the wizard's light show. This is also a dead loss because our dishonor ensures that we lose. The third approach involves staying in honor and retaining a posture where we are free to act in a way that rebounds in our benefit. If what we experience is a result of our direct creation in the past, acceptance must occur to close the circle on the process involved in our creating by thought, and then sooner or later experiencing back upon ourselves a result of our own thought or creation. We must complete the cause and effect cycle and discharge the imbalanced buildup of charge that remains until the action or reaction account is balanced, and the imbalance, i.e., the charge, is discharged. If what we experience is a result of action of others, we need to do a kind, legal, commercial jujitsu that returns the charge. And that is true. That returns the force of their actions back to them without injuring us. All injury we experience in legal commercial matters is the result of essentially one of two things. Number one, failure to establish on the record and correctly notice the proper parties of our position as the living principal, creditor, and authorized representative for our strawman, all caps, name. All law fictions on the basis of presumptions. A major presumption on the basis of which mankind is enslaved is the presumption that our failure to clarify and establish on the record who we regard ourselves as being, in what capacity we are functioning, signifies the system's right to act against us as it wishes. As per maxim of law, he who fails to assert his rights has none. The seventh commercial maxim is a matter must be expressed to be resolved. And that's the thing. So if you're not being clear about who it is that you are and what you stand for, they're going to assume and presume that you're under their rules and regulations, codes and statutes. So if we do not provide notice of our position, no one else can. And that's where the promissory estoppel comes into place, because you need to notify these people who it is that you are prior to any interaction. I'm telling you, that shit's a lifesaver. Or you could try to double back and try to clean up the mess afterward. You know what I'm saying? Well, that's not my job. That's your job. So if we do not provide notice of our position, no one else can, nor does anyone in the system have any motivation to try to assert our position for us, especially via them. So if we want our position noticed, we alone must do it. So if we fail to notify appropriate officials and agencies of our position, there is no basis upon which anyone in the system can relate to us other than in accordance with the system's rules and presumptions, which operate with impunity unless properly controverted by us. So their position is the only one on the table because we have not introduced our own into the equation. A gold prospector must drive a stake into the corner of his plots. He is staking his claim if he wants to have others recognize his claim. Without doing so, nothing exists to communicate his intent or to be treated as if the plot of ground is as opposed to anyone else's. He has not acted in accordance with the rules of the game that must be followed by him to achieve his objective. Acting in dishonor and thereby engaging in resistance that disallows pass through the current that enables us to retain our freedom and autonomy without being damaged. Resistance in a circuit creates heat. By resisting, we bear the burden of our own biological circuitry, which remains until discharge. The absence of discharge can weaken, exhaust, burn up, or even in some way debilitate us. It is a cardinal spiritual maximum that victory is achieved through surrender. To understand this statement, we must define the meaning and the operative of the words, victory and surrender. By victory, we do not mean physical conquest and domination, which is futilely born of acting on. Attempting to render durable in some manner, the illusion of separation and superiority is one aspect of one over another. In this situation, an ego examines not only that it is separate from others, all and everything, but is superior to others' expression of the same oneness. The delusion is a major source of sorrow and suffering that has plagued mankind throughout history. Using force and artifice, as in attempt to get reality to conform to a flawed and vain abstraction of what it has of it is foregone futility that leaves carnage and suffering in its wake. So the concept of separation is an illusion, which ultimately leads to the delusion of grandeur and things like that. When you don't look at yourself as one part of the collective or like the whole, not necessarily in what you do or think, but as what you are physically, in the sense that we're all atoms and connected in that way through quantum entanglement, right? So they're just being one atom fractaled, and then you have the quantum entanglement that engages with all of these separate fractal versions of it. So what this is implying is that if you get caught up in the separation, in the illusion of separation, then that's going to lead to some type of mental illness here. So the term surrender is intended to convey the concept and expand receptivity rather than outward directed action, without the first obtaining the benefit of more thought, insight, and information that one has at the time. Receptivity involves opening one's mind, letting go of the attitude that one already knows the truth. You can't know the truth if you think you already know it. And if you only heard one thing and believed it, you don't fucking know the truth. I promise you that. So releasing preconceived ideas about what one's experiencing and inwardly experiencing the vessel of one's being, only for the purpose of perceiving matters more fully, clearly, and wholly, free of distorted, diluted, and preconceived biases. But providing the conscious mind with more comprehension than they had previously been, the limits of one thinking and consciousness depth always absorbs, and as a Zen master once said, it is impossible to discover when preoccupied with the familiar. So there are no limits or bounds to the size, scope, and depths of our vessel, nor to the nature of the content we can consciously contain. And this is akin to take off with an, right? And that's what I always say too, is that everything can be known. You know what I'm saying? But if you've already adopted an ideology which makes you believe that everything cannot be known and there has to be mysteries and shit, then there will be for you and you'll never know anything. So it really isn't even that complicated. But, you know, I mean, the more you know, the better off you're going to be. So definitely get your head in these books. Get out there and study as much case law as you can. If you're going to be having a court issue, get in there, sit in on some of these cases so you can see how the litigation works, the back and forth and all that, procedures, and even to see, you know, who it is that you're going to be dealing with. So sit in on some of your prosecutors' cases and things like that and see how they are. Maybe even go talk to them and see what it's about, see what they want to do, if you can resolve the issue privately, quickly, etc. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of ways to go about things, and they're not going to tell you what all your real options are. They're going to tell you the options that they want you to pick from. So it is a game of chess. Stop playing checkers with these clowns. That's what I got for you for now. Until we meet again.